beans. Welcome to King of the Bean. I'm Ian, this is Josh, and this is Ryan.
I'm Ryan. Hi.
I'm Josh.
So the premise of this show is that each week we will decide a King of the Bean who sits in the lovely Bean King throne chair, and the king gets to decide the topic of conversation for this particular episode.
And the way that we're going to determine who picks the topic of the week is through our little bean dispensary here. Each person is going to call out a color for that week, and whichever color comes out more is going to be the King of the Bean for the week.
Hello everyone, welcome back to King of the Bean. I am Josh. We are also here again with Ian and Ryan, the other beanlings as we call them. Sure, let's go with it.
I'll sign off on
Trademark.
Trademark, yeah, sure. I don't think we can trademark that. Regardless of. So, hello, we're back and we're going to be choosing who is going to be the next King of the Bean. Alright, am I going to be the one who turns this stuff?
Yeah, because you're in the chair.
So you call out who wants what color.
Alright, who wants? Should I not be a part of this? Not because I was King of the Bean.
No, you can be the king again.
Because we can have repeats.
Alright, fine.
Otherwise, we might as well flip a coin.
I mean, I guess that's fair.
Alright, I call red.
Red?
Green.
Great, of course. And I'll do white.
Alright.
Alright, how many turns do I do?
So they come out. There you go.
Alright, cool. There's 2 greens.
Okay, perfect.
You're being very dramatic about it.
Dun, 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 dun. There's 2 greens. And purple, black, brown,
Sure.
whatever you want to call it.
Ian wins.
Yeah, you win by default. So you have been knighted as the new King of the Bean. Do not overstep your power.
I am the king. Oh! I almost dropped it like Ryan did, but I didn't break
Hail
it.
to the king. I can't sing that as a song.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is. Alright.
Okay.
So as King of the Bean, what is
You
our
can't do that. There's a chord there.
It's fine.
You were saying?
It'll be fine. It won't, as long as it doesn't type. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Okay, so.
So, hey, Mr. King.
What is the
Yo,
topic
yo.
of discussion for this episode? Also, before we begin, socks of the day. Flamingo.
Sock of the day.
Flamingo socks.
Bring it up a bit. There you go.
Can you
Show
see?
those twosies.
Can you see the flamingos?
Lovely. Alright.
Alright, what's the topic, bud?
Well, so I was thinking about 2 topics.
Okay.
Alright.
And I mean, we can cut it until we, actually pick a topic.
No, you have to pick one. That's part of it. We don't get a discussion.
I was going to ask which of the 2 you wanted to.
The one that you feel the most.
The first one.
I do.
I gave you an answer. The first one.
Perfect. First one.
Which one's fair?
The top one.
The one that's on the top.
The one that you say first.
No, okay, so the first one I was thinking about was, what I have written here is, like, millennial issues. Like, problems that us as millennials face.
Sure.
We're going deep on the 3rd episode.
Specifically, I was thinking about finances, but I don't think we can talk about that for a full episode, so I'm going to keep it broad, but we'll start in the financial sector.
Okay.
I'm poor and have no money, so everything's a financial issue.
I'm also poor and have somewhat no money. And things are a financial issue. We actually... Are we going to do that?
But what?
The topic of finance?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Did you want to talk about yesterday?
So, yeah, okay. So, on the topic of finances. So, yesterday, there was a whole situation that happened. So, I don't know if you guys heard, or if any of you guys heard, but the date of this, there was a whole incident that was going on between Chase and people who were using Zelle, where there was double transactions being done. And so, since it is the first of the month where a lot of people tend to pay rent and stuff like that, a lot of people were complaining like, oh, my rent, I doubled it or whatever, but I didn't do that.
Or like they didn't have enough money in their account to pay rent because Zelle had double charged them for everything.
Yeah, so I got a notification from my email saying like, hey, there's this transaction and stuff like that, and I don't have a lot of money in the bank right now, so it's just like, oh yeah, you're overdrawn. It's like, the hell I am?
Yeah, that specific account.
Yeah, so I looked it up, and sure enough, it was overdrawn, and I looked at it and it showed that I had sent the rent twice, and I send my half to him so he can just write off a check, and it'll be much easier that way for us, and that's just how it works. And so I talked to him. I was like, hey.
And so, so I woke up super early yesterday, and I decided when it was time for him to wake up, usually around 8, that I would go get breakfast. So I came in and I was like, hey, you want breakfast? He's like, sure, that sounds great. I leave the house, I come back and I'm like, I have food. He's like, I have financial issues.
it was very bad. It was very
And he's
bad.
like, did you get double the payment for rent? And I was like, oh, come sit down and eat and I will check my app.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the food to get cold or anything.
That's true. I'll eat it either way.
So he comes and sits down. Well, it's better when it's hot.
Sure.
But,
Fair.
I mean, you don't want your hash brown to get soggy. But, so he comes, sits down, and I'm checking my bank app, and I'm like, no, I just got it once, and I showed him, and he's like, well, it took the money twice. So we have a slight problem.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do I do? And I was like, just
Does it show in your transactions like that it happened twice? Like, was it two separate transactions?
But it was exactly the same code, because you know how like each transaction has like its own little code. It was the exact same code, so it was just doubled for whatever reason.
Weird.
And so he was saying like you probably just have to call them. It's like, oh god, calling people. It's like, and they open at 9. It's like, I can't even start calling them right now.
Yeah.
Because God knows it's gonna be a long
for
line.
Chase, their branches don't even stay open later than like normal working hours. Like they're exactly 9 to 5, and it's like, if I also work a 9 to 5, when am I supposed to talk to you?
Yeah.
But
all on your lunch break.
But so he left for work. I went to my computer to start working, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna Google this because maybe it's not like a one-person issue. Maybe it's a widespread issue. So I Google it, and as soon as I do, a bunch of articles pop up and a bunch of tweets about people who are like, what is going on? Like, Chase is just taking extra money. I have to pay my bills because it's the end of the month. Like, what is going on?
Which honestly, like for them, like I'm sure it's a lot more different for me. It's like, oh thank God, it's not just a me problem.
Yeah.
Like I just got hacked or something.
Yeah, and a bunch of people were like, I just sat in customer service call for like over an hour, like just so the rest of you don't have to sit on hold for that long.
Which shout out to that girl.
Yeah.
Who did that for us. Like
just know
what a hero.
It's a big issue. They're working on it. But my thing is, as soon as they saw, because we would have done this, like at my company, as soon as you have an issue, especially regarding payments and money, you tell all your people, like, we're aware of it, we're working on it, right? Because, like, he's panicking. He's like, I just lost double my regular rent.
I mean, I'm not panicking. I was like, it'll be fixed no matter what.
But play up the story.
No, I refuse.
But, well, you, and I'm sure a bunch of other people are panicking.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And, because, I mean, depending on how much you use Zelle and how you pay your bills, and I mean, that could have been a lot of money.
Yeah.
And to see it go twice, and the person that it's supposed to go to didn't even get twice the amount to just be able to send it back as, like, a mistake. But yeah, I mean, we would send out a blast email. It would be on our homepage, like, just so you know, there's an issue.
Did not get any of that.
He didn't know there was an issue from the bank itself until like 4 o'clock that day.
Yeah.
Where they had like a little alert banner, like.
Because you know, I'm like constantly looking to see, like, okay, maybe the money's back in, and it's been less than 24 hours or whatever.
And it's just like
no notification until the very end.
Like, because yes, a lot of people are like, you shouldn't acknowledge your mistakes, because.
No.
Well, no, I mean, not people, corporations.
Oh, okay.
Like, making a big blunder like that as a corporation loses faith in your customer base and your investors and stuff. So, yeah, it looks bad. But, like...
I feel like it looks worse to just not acknowledge it and 100%. Try and hide it.
It does, though. Because, like,
instead of being like, oh, man, you know, I don't know what happened, like, it's some computer glitch, sorry, and whether it was, like, reasonable or not, you can just go that way, like, oh, it's a computer glitch, like, we're gonna get it all figured out, put it all back.
Yeah, I mean, regular people are like, oh, computer glitch, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm like, okay, what specifically happened? But I work in software, so
yeah, you think
I'm thinking about the specifics and where it could have gone wrong.
Yeah, your mind works differently.
But, but also, you want to decrease the strain on your support team because they're going to get so many customer service calls.
Okay, but that's coming from a perspective that you care about your customer service team.
I mean, you should, because
I feel like a lot of companies don't care.
Because Well, the customers are calling customer service, so it puts strain on that. But also, your customers are annoyed because they're sitting on hold for an hour or two. Like nobody.
Okay, but
has
your company
that
just
kind of
made
time.
double their money, so
I mean, that money didn't go anywhere. It was just taken out of the account. Like,
but then it had to have gone somewhere though. You don't just lose half the money, so that's the thing.
I mean,
Right? It went somewhere.
Yeah.
Something happened to it, and it didn't go to the recipients it was supposed to.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
what exactly happened.
again, whether it was a ploy or whether it was a folly, just be like, sorry, and at least try and do something about it instead of pretending like it didn't happen or trying to just squash it and sweep it under the rug. That's not gonna work these days.
Yeah, people are too vocal, especially on Twitter.
yeah.
Especially on Twitter.
But yeah, that's why you have to be very. It's not proactive, but like react as fast as possible to be like, hey, we're aware, we're working on it, we'll get you a solution as soon as we can,
Mm-hmm.
and where.
It's just nice to know that they're actually working on it too.
Yeah.
Of all things.
But yeah. So that happened yesterday. That was a fun morning.
Yeah.
And then but even, we were just talking with our parents because our lease is up in a couple months, so I'm trying to decide, like, is it feasible for me to be able to buy a house? Do we have to keep renting? As much as I do like where we are, I would just really love to have my own place so I can make decisions for the house and property and stuff without having to go get somebody else to do it. But as like a millennial, most of our generation can't afford a house right now.
No, things are too expensive. Everything's getting. There's so much inflation.
When
everything.
the salaries aren't keeping up.
They're not. No, it's a whole issue with everything's getting more expensive and nothing's catching up to how much we need to be paying for stuff, which is sucks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's like not even just housing. It's like food. Like McDonald's for one person is like almost $20 now.
I mean,
It is.
I remember when the dollar menu was a real thing. Now the dollar menu is called the $1, $2, $3 menu, and nothing is below $2 except for a large drink or any drink, I guess. And then everything in the $2, $3 menu is like really like $2.50. But if you buy 2 of these, it's actually $4, so it's a $2 item.
Yeah.
But you have to, and it's just ridiculous. You used to be able to eat like a whole meal off the dollar menu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but everything's expensive now.
Yeah, those days are gone.
And I mean, we talked about that. That was only 10 years ago. And then when our parents were younger, you could get a cheeseburger for like a quarter. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then
Gas prices too. Like those haven't gone down in a hot second.
$5 to get up here.
Are they actually?
Over $5.
we paid about $4.40.
Yeah, but we also went to the cheaper gas places.
We go to Arco.
Arco.
Yeah, all
Shout out
the
to
ones,
Arco.
all the ones down that street. I don't know what the Arco is, but I know like the Chevron and the 76. I think the Shell 2 are over $5 again.
Shell.
I think so.
Shell's on the cheaper side too. Oh, is it? I might be wrong. Thinking about it.
Well, I think the Arco's like usually 20 cents less than the Chevron or something.
So it'd be $4.80.
Yeah, which is still
That's
a lot.
still pretty high.
But
You guys remember like a little bit during COVID where all the gas prices just
When
dipped
you're down to like $3
'cause no one was driving.
Oh my god!
which
The
is
pandemic was terrible, obviously for many reasons,
Yeah.
and the health concerns and the people who were affected negatively and passed away, very tragic, 100% sad. However, living in Southern California, having the gas prices be like $3 a gallon,
What a dream.
unprecedented, and the freeways being clear if you needed to go somewhere, being able to drive into LA at like 20 minutes, never been done before in the history of Los Angeles. And it was like, wow, this is nice.
it was beautiful.
But that does not outweigh all the negatives.
But that could be its own topic.
Yeah, it can be.
But
gas prices. Oof.
yeah. I mean-
Everything's expensive.
But yeah, and then I mean it's even harder to get jobs that pay enough to live in. I mean we're in Southern California, so it's really hard to get a job to be able to pay to live near your job unless you have either a bunch of roommates or you're renting like the room in the back of somebody's house.
That's true. That's why the whole joke of like nowadays that I've been listening to a lot is like,
oh, you know, all these people are in polyamorous relationships. Like, of course they are.
Yeah, because that's the only way you can.
Yeah, that's the only way you can live.
In this economy, you can't even get by with a couple. You gotta get by with a throuple. A throuple or a quadruple or a quintuple.
More
Keep
people.
going. Do another one.
Yeah, just keep
Sextuple.
Do another one.
Sextuple.
It's not sextuple.
It's sextuple.
Is
For 6.
Yeah,
Is
it
it?
is. And then septuple would be 7.
And then octuple.
8. And then nine-tuple is 9.
And then dectuple.
And then
Isn't it-
decatuple, decatuple.
for 6.
Yeah,
Isn't
no.
it hextuple?
It could be. There are
Okay.
2. It's hex or
Either
sex.
way.
I'm pretty sure it's sextuple.
I don't think so. But anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm also thinking in terms of like number of
Polygons.
children somebody has.
Oh, I'm thinking of like polygons.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I said hextuple.
Well, yeah.
Hextuple would be right.
But I'm thinking I've heard like
I've heard-
quintuplets.
yeah.
And then I'm pretty
sextuplets.
sure it's sextuplets for
I've
like
heard
6
it.
babies at a
I've
time.
heard it.
I've never heard hextuplets.
That's fair.
I've
Because
heard
no
it.
one wants to have a hex of anything.
What about hexagon?
Hex girl,
Yeah, exactly.
and they're gonna put a
You
spell
can't.
on
Copyrighted.
you.
Copyrighted.
No, it's under a certain amount of seconds. We're good.
What's the timeline? I can sing the whole time.
No. You can say for 5
But only,
seconds.
yeah, I know. Okay, 5 seconds. That's
5
what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great, cool. I thought you couldn't sing at all.
No, you can sing, but you just going to sing for 5 seconds because that's
Oh, my world has.
I don't know.
opened
Is it 5 seconds exactly?
We'll look it up later.
Um,
we'll do
Do
we'll
4
do
to be
fact
on the
checks.
safe side.
Yeah, we'll
I
do a
think mine
fact
was
check.
like a second.
It was 3, but sure.
It was 10, but sure.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's just hard.
Let's suddenly pillow.
Where did you pull that?
Do
out?
I
Your
have
ass?
a pillow behind me too?
Listen.
Everybody, pull out your pillow.
Listen, as a person who's on the little chubbier side, I don't like my belly showing all that much.
That's okay.
Anyways, back on
It's
the
Pride
topic.
Month. Be proud of what you have.
Yeah, I agree.
I
think you're great, Josh.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, and talking to mom and dad like a little bit ago, they're like, yeah, we had a finance class in high school. We didn't have a finance class in high school.
I
Like,
wish.
on a scale of 0 to 100, how financially literate would you say you are?
Closer to 0 than even like 20%. I would say like 10%.
I would
I would
also
say
say
I don't
10%.
know much. I understand basics because I took macroeconomics twice in my life, and I have a decent understanding of how macroeconomics works. But in terms of personal finance, like 0%. I don't know anything because
That's
I
true.
never learned anything.
And I'm on the same boat with that. And for me, I come from a family that's like, I'm like the first generation here who actually was born and raised here.
Yeah.
And so my parents have no clue how any of the finances stuff here really works.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you know, there's also a language barrier because me personally, I don't have the best Spanish. I have conversational Spanish, but if you go in depth for like financial stuff, I wouldn't understand what they're saying to me.
Yeah.
So there's that whole barrier.
Right.
And yeah, I have siblings too, but you know, there's my siblings and my whole family in general have communication.
Yeah, because I would say, I mean, because I've been learning a lot about finances recently, because
You want to buy a house?
I want to buy a house,
Yeah.
but I want better things, and like, I'm thinking about it, like, how are rich people successful once they get money? They use their money to work for them. So I was
They invest in stuff.
They invest.
And then it's passive income.
in passive income. Yeah, so I was like, oh, how can I get a piece of that action? I have a smaller amount to invest, but I mean, anything's better than the bank, which gives you 0.02% per year. So divide that by 12, you're getting like 0.0016%
Do nice
Quick
fast
math,
math.
every month. I mean, that's not exact. That was very
close enough.
estimate.
Better than I would've
I mean, getting that much per month is so minimal, and it's like I found out what like a money market account is, and that our bank offers one, and instead of getting 0.02% per year, which I think is ridiculous that they give you percentages per year when you accrue interest per month, it's very misleading in my opinion.
You're saying a lot of words to me. I'm like, what are you saying?
You see,
What
but
does
that's,
this mean?
that's
in
part of the
grand scheme things?
problem, right? Is
Yeah.
that you should understand, because I mean everybody has a bank account.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, what's the difference between a checking and a savings?
I'm gonna slide my scale up to 10 because I understood what you're saying.
He's
I'm
like
at a 5.
He's like, I'm down to a 2.
Yeah. I'm at a 5, I want to say.
And then there's different types of savings, like the money market, where instead of the more money you put into it, the higher accrual rate you get. So you can get up to like a 1.8% per
I think
year.
the biggest issue though is like the bank doesn't like the institutions don't exist to help you make money.
No, you have to know how they work in order to get
They
it to
exist
work for you.
to take your money essentially and then use it for them because the bank just stores your money and then they use that for what they want to use it for. Like if everyone were to actually go to a bank and try and pull out all their money, that wouldn't happen because that doesn't exist.
Well, and that's why we've had, like the Great
Stock market
Depression and
crashes.
stock market crash is when people can't rely on their banks anymore and they take it out and they're like, wait, I gave that guy $1 million home loan, but now I don't have the accounts to take the $1 million from.
Yeah.
What's going on? And then they pay you the smallest fraction of interest that they can get away with to be like, oh, thank you for giving me money to play with and make money off of.
But that's
But
why
you're
they
not
do
gonna
it
get
by
any of
the
that.
12-month or the year standard of you have this much because it makes it seem like a bigger number. Because if you're signing up for a bank account and they're like, oh, we'll pay you 0.00016% per month, no one's gonna agree to that.
Yeah.
That's
But-
like nothing.
It is.
But
Like,
I
what does that
mean-
even mean?
But I mean, it's still technically better than having all your money at home under your mattress.
Yeah, until the stock market crashes. Which I'm not a proponent for keeping all your money in your mattress. I don't know if that's ideal.
I keep it in a piggy bank.
All right, that's better.
It's actually a baby Yoda bank.
It is a baby Yoda bank. I have a little baby Yoda bank that's
But
full
like
of my
I'm
coins.
saying, it's not made for us to make money from or to help
No, but I
us.
think
It's made for the
There's-
Wall Street and the banking corporations.
But there's these systems in place that we could be utilizing better for the individual people, but
We're not
poorer
informed.
people don't know about it, so we're missing out on it.
Mhm.
In which case, other people get to gain more from it.
Well, also,
right?
do
And
you
then
see
it-
those videos? Like, I've been seeing these videos of like, because this is obviously a huge issue, and like we're talking about millennial problems, but this relates to Gen X too, because they're or Gen Z. What's below us? Gen Z, Zoomers.
I think so.
Yeah.
They're getting up to that age too. They're in their early 20s now. Some of them, right? So like I've seen all these videos on like Instagram and TikTok of like, people talking about how do you make money. And I saw one the other day where this guy was like, yeah, before you're 30, you should own 10 houses. You own 10 houses and you rent those houses out, and then you get the passive income from that, and then you live on that for the next 30 years.
Where you
and
get the down payment
Well,
for 10
exactly.
houses.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Is it's like people in their 20s can't even afford one house,
If you
and you're saying, you dumb kids, just buy 10 houses.
If you're in the place
so
to be able
easy.
to buy that many houses, you're not somebody who needs help with finances.
It's very true.
You're already well off, whether it be your parents, you've got a really great job or something. And, this talk about those of us needing help is not for you, and,
But there's
Sorry.
like a lot of videos like that where people are like, oh, well, you just invest in this and you invest
Oh, I
in that.
know.
And it's like, but you need money to do that. And if you don't have
you
money
need
to
a
do
starting
that, you
point.
can't. So that's not a way to help people increase their income and increase their net financial growth, because you need a lot of money to do that in the first place. So if you don't have that, you're not going to get that back. Like, even talking finances, like we were just doing, like, if you the more you can invest in something, the more you get back, right? But if you can only invest a tiny little egg, what you get back is a little bump on that egg, and it's like that's not gonna really shift anything. And yes, it's better than nothing, but it's not gonna really move the needle at all.
no, but any extra money is helpful.
Yeah.
Even if, it might not be able to get you a house, but maybe, an extra $500, you can at least take a little vacation to help yourself mentally and just take a break and relax. Like, any little bit helps, whether it's getting you to a really big goal that needs a lot of money or a smaller goal of, like, I want to go to Japan. Like, anything helps, and to use the system to get what you can out of it, we should be using it as much as possible.
I agree. But again, it falls back onto the issue, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
how to do any of this
It's an
stuff.
illiteracy
But like the thing for you,
Like with your parents who are taking who took a whole financial course in high school. Like I wish.
when they told me that in California it's now required again, so
we missed this.
so hopefully Gen Z is gonna at least get off to a better start in knowing what there is,
yeah, but then
because
there's still
we didn't even have to take home ec.
I
so
didn't have home ec.
he took a home ec class, right?
Yeah, it was a cooking. It was a cooking class. I took a cooking class as an elective, and so I know how to cook. Kind of made pancakes and muffins and a bunch of other stuff.
Well,
which is still
you can
good.
do that by reading the box, but yeah.
Don't
Wow, way
don't
to diminish
downplay.
me. Wow,
So rude.
way to take my accomplishments
Wow.
and just stomp them into the dirt like
No, I mean I'm not. That wasn't
Hurtful.
that wasn't
Really?
to downplay your accomplishments. I mean.
what? We really did a good job of it though.
Continue.
I'm trying to say
Try to
they
save
should have
yourself.
taught you how to make
But it wasn't a home ec class. It was a cooking class. There
Yeah.
was no home economics. There was no here's what you do when you move out of your parents' house.
No,
This is
but
what you should be
What I was
prepared
saying is
for.
they could have at least taught you how to make meals, not things that you can go buy better crocker. and
It's an
it'll tell you.
elective for
What?
kids who don't want to do other things.
What is technically that home ec supposed to cover? Is it just cooking? Because that's what I've always.
That's what I've always known it to be. But
for.
Since Ian brought it up, when I was thinking about the name home economics, what that tells me is it teaches you how to facilitate and operate
run
a
a home.
home.
Whether
Right,
that
so
be
financial institutions, how to cook, how to clean, what to fix stuff, what to
wire.
invest in. Do you get a home? Do you get a condo? Do you get an apartment? Do you get a studio? Like what, based on your position in life, is the best option for you, and how do you make the most of that?
Got none of that stuff.
But I don't know if that's ever been a
Sucks.
thing, if that's ever been the point of a home economics class, because whenever I've heard of it or seen it in movie and TVs
It's
and
always
stuff,
been
it's just cooking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a good thing to
And
learn.
it's the thing that people would joke about, like, oh, he's in home ec, oh, what a nerd, or whatever. And it's like, but that's vitally important information, I feel like.
There it is.
I mean, I was gonna say sidebar. Home Economics, a great show on Hulu.
Yes.
You kept saying it, and I was like,
I know, show.
I know that show. It was good. For some reason, it stopped early. Sidebar. Anyway,
Haven't seen it, still.
I recommend it. It's nice.
You guys keep doing that, and I haven't watched it.
Fair enough.
I have a huge
Listen,
list
you
of
keep
things
recommending One Piece, and God knows we.
Are we gonna go down that tangent again?
No,
No.
not today.
Ryan's One Piece corner is closed for this
Oh,
episode.
dang.
He's ready to open, but
He is.
I'm always ready to open. New chapter this week? Y'all know.
If you know, you know.
You know. Big one.
Okay.
Alright, anyway,
But-
that's it. Corner closed.
We talk about millennial problems.
Yeah.
You're talking about manila envelopes.
Manila
How do you
envelopes.
back-
Manila Luzon.
Do you think, as our generation, do you feel like we have a better grasp of mental health than other generations?
Absolutely.
I think we have a better grasp of mental health, and that comes at the cost of knowing how to go about life in other ways.
What do you?
I don't think it's a cost because I don't think it's a exchange, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think we gave up
Well-
being able to afford living for the sake of understanding.
Well, I'm
mental
not
health
talking
better.
about, but I mean,
Because if that was the case, maybe I lose a little bit of my mental health for a little bit more financial gain.
where does one trade mental health for money?
Yeah. What's that exchange rate at?
Yeah.
Might
But
consider.
I think that just this generation is more
Well, I didn't mean.
open-minded to things like therapy and to understanding personal situations and not just doing what previous generations do, like sweeping it under the rug or saying things like boys will be boys or whatever, any of that other anecdotal excuses for behavior and for personal lifestyle and for your own mental health of saying, oh, well, life's just hard, so you have to suck it up and deal with it. It's that's not.
Where do you think that comes from, or what do you think aided our generation in realizing that or being more okay with it compared to older generations?
That's a good question.
Because
I don't know.
Because I was thinking, as much as it's detrimental to our mental health, I was thinking social media is probably one of the reasons why, it's
People get-
so greater, and the internet, because you can see, this isn't just a me problem. Other people have these same problems, and we can connect with other people,
Yeah.
and we're it's okay if we're going through that. I'm going through it too. How can we help each other?
Yeah, there's
or
a greater sense of community.
So I think while we're also comparing ourselves to one another, because that's how social media works. A lot of people just trying to get those likes and everything. How can I get more than her or whatever? At the same time, we're also bonding over our shared experiences.
Shared trauma,
shared experiences.
I think that's a newer swing of the pendulum, though. I think for a long time, social media was what.
Well, but I mean,
destructive.
Well, then can I ask you this question for you guys? Like, what makes you personally more okay being more open about like emotional issues that you guys are having? Like, what caused you to be like, hey, maybe I should take a step back and realize that this is something that needs to be talked about personally?
For me, I hit a point where I was tired of being unhappy all the time and being stressed out all the time and being angry all the time.
I know.
And I'm like, I don't want to live this way anymore. And if I keep living this way, I'm not going to live much longer. So
Yeah.
I want to do something for myself because I don't like this anymore and I don't want to do this anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm going to change myself. And seeing that in other people, I understand what people are going through more because I've been there and I get that. And I'm still there in a lot of facets. Like, I'm nowhere near where I want to be in my life right now.
But you're taking.
But I'm better than
That's
I was last year. And so if I can help someone, like, because to me, like, yes, financial stuff is great. And I wish I had more money to do things and to move out and to have my own place and et cetera, et cetera. But, like, what I have learned is happiness is more important. Like, I would rather be happy than anything else.
Well, I think that's what our whole generation's learning, right? Is like, why are we slaving away? But we're not happy. Like, what's the point of living life if you're not happy?
Yeah.
And how to get there. And then, like, with social media or the internet, you hear people sharing their stories. And I think that's what it is we get to hear more people's stories.
Oh, one of the best things that's ever happened on the internet is Humans of New York. Do you guys know that page?
Oh,
the
I used to know that page,
or the and Instagram? Freaking love Humans of New York.
Shut up.
Brandon, whatever your name
No clue
is.
what that is.
It's this guy. So he started off as this guy, it was a photographer. And he would just walk around New York just taking pictures of people and getting like a little blurb from them or whatever. And he started that a long time ago. Like, I remember when we first went on Facebook or whatever, like, that was one of the first things I saw.
2011.
And it's just people telling their stories, and it's evolved to this thing. Like, he's gone to other countries and done like these they become basically like a photojournalist essentially, but then also has like whatever they want to share about their life or whatever, you know, a little blurb, a long thing, something they're going through, whatever. But it's amazing. I freaking love Humans of New York. Highly suggest you like and follow them on whatever your preferred platform is. So many wonderful stories, and they're not all like good stories too. It's not all like everyone's a great person. Like, there's some stories just like, oh, I don't really agree with this person, or oh, this guy kind of sucks or whatever. But like, it's just showing people and all the colors of the people, right? And not like physical colors, but like every type of person. Just, these are people. People are people. Here's their stories. And I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, so on the whole story thing, like, even with celebrities sharing their stories and us being able to read more about it, and even just songs. I mean, when you said that you were tired of being tired all the time and like exhausted, and I don't remember if I mentioned this.
I've been looking at that hair for a long time.
Can I help you?
I got it. No, I got it. It's all good.
Oh, okay. I don't remember if I said this during the podcast or the music podcast, but one of the biggest lyrics that spoke out to me was, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. Have you heard me say that before?
I haven't heard you say that, but when I worked at the museum before, my buddy used to say all the time, "Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because I am."
But it's a lyric from a Set It Off song, which, shout out to them, love you guys. Can't remember the name of that song. What? Can't remember the name of the song right now, but he was like, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I think that's been a thing
And
since
letting
before
all
that
these
song
negative
came out.
thoughts
'Cause
collide.
me and my buddy were talking about that for years ago, so I don't know how old that song is.
That song's one of their older ones, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I was just like, yo, say it. Like, wait.
Speak to me on a spiritual
like,
level.
because it's like I felt that way, but I could never put it into good words. And it's like the perfect summation of like how to describe how I'm feeling. And yeah, there's other songs that speak to me, but that's one of the biggest ones.
Well, I think it goes back to like what you were saying about like our generation and why that's been a shift is because people are not like, because of more education and awareness around mental health, and because of this new paradigm we're going down, people aren't willingly putting up with the crap that people have been putting up with for a long time, which is why minimum wage jobs have a huge deficit right now, because people are like, why am I going to work like that, be treated that way, to make no money? Why would I do that?
Well, and once you see one person do it, you're like, wait, I can do that too.
It's true.
Like, somebody did it first, right? You're not the first person to do a lot of things, probably.
Because the thing is like, you don't have to put up with that. The reason why that... Oh, were you talking? I thought you were done. You keep like pausing, and I keep thinking
I'm
you're done.
breathing.
You guys do this all the time.
Okay, you
It's
go.
so
You go.
funny.
I thought you were done because you like paused.
Cut off
You say the same
my
things.
whole... I know. My whole train's derailed.
Okay, go back to it though. Get back on that train.
What
buddy.
was I saying?
I don't know.
You were saying
we
something.
go through the same issue all the time because
I know.
you guys are all interrupters. I'm also an interrupter, but
But like, remember
band.
remember when you were first pointing out that problem with me that I interrupt a lot, and I'm like, in our family, once you see that pause, you go. Like,
Yeah.
there's like if you want to get your moment, you have to take it. You can't wait for your
If
moment.
you want to speak, you gotta speak. Otherwise, you'll never be heard.
yeah, which is very funny to me because I come from a place where like you don't speak unless you're being spoken to. Like that was the whole culture behind my thing. So you stay quiet, listen, and then you talk.
No.
Unless you're at a party, in which case you're interrupting.
See, but I think that's the good thing about what we learned is that, because in your opinion, I mean, in terms of like how that is like you only spoke when spoken to. Your opinion only matters when somebody asks, but your opinion matters all the time whether somebody asks or not. And sometimes
you have a voice, Josh.
sometimes
I do.
the only
I've
way
been
to
taught otherwise. And
sometimes
it's a
the
lot
only
of
way
hard
to
untraining that.
sometimes the only way to get your opinion out is to just who cares who else is talking. It's your moment. Have it.
I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
To an extent, though.
To an
I
extent.
agree with that.
Obviously, everything's good in moderation.
I'm more important than anyone else. Mine's the only one
Everything's
that
good in
matters.
moderation. There's a time and place for everything, right?
Yeah.
But if you're always silent, like nothing's gonna change.
I understand that, but I'm not in a lot of serious situations where like having to interrupt someone to get my point across. That's not my day-to-day life. I'm regularly just conversating with people most of the time, and then people interrupt me. And like, I was talking about something, and I'm easily derailed in my
What's
head.
that like?
It's terrible. I'm easily derailed in my head because as soon as I stop thinking about what I'm doing and I'm paying attention to someone else, I forget everything else, and then I don't remember. It's like, oh, what were you gonna say? It's like, I don't even know.
We go through that all the time.
I know, it's annoying. So back to the top.
Which was
Something about millennial politics. So
Mental health.
Mental-
Where we were at.
yeah. So you said that you were tired of being unhappy, and that's when you took your turnaround. It's like, okay, I gotta do stuff to help myself. For me, I had a moment, and I remember very vividly in my head. It was in high school, and it was on my birthday specifically. And
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's not my birthday, but thank you.
they don't know that.
It was. It's fair. It could be my birthday.
It's not today.
It's
No,
posted.
you know.
When this day.
364 days left to guess.
But it was on my birthday, and for whatever reason, I had like a big struggle going on in high school where, like I've been saying, like I only really spoke when I was spoken to, and so because of that, I was known to a lot of people as a very good listener, and so people love to trauma dump on you, and I realized how much people had trauma dumped on me to the point where it started affecting me about all this emotional damage that they were going through. I was like, okay, now I feel that, and to an extent, and it's just bothering me. It sucks.
Yeah.
I've learned not to deal with it as much in moderation, I guess. There's certain people you need to vent, and I get that. But regardless of. But that happened so much to the point where like I was having issues mentally going on in my life. I'm like, oh my god, I'm just so unhappy.
and like everyone's able to like talk about their issues, but I feel like I don't have the voice to talk about my issues, which is never the case. Always speak your mind whenever something's bothering you. It may be small, but if it's bothering you enough, it matters.
You matter whether it's your opinions or your feelings.
Yeah,
like,
it's valid. You're seen.
We hear you.
And we hear you. Exactly. But I remember having the moment where in my head I was like, none of my friends had said happy birthday to me, which is not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but since I was going through a lot of mental things that day, it just was really
a big deal.
dawning on me.
No, I mean, I feel that, like, it seems like a small thing, but it really is a lot big, because I would feel that way too, is I'd be like, oh, they, like, it feels like it's a small thing, but at the same time, because it's a small thing, it's like, why can't you just do this small thing for me?
Very that,
and it's like,
because it makes you feel isolated and alone.
It
because,
does.
like, no one cares about me enough to even say happy birthday.
It's like,
and that sucks, because like I had that, and like none of my friends had said happy birthday to me, and it was really bothering me. And then randomly, some random student, some other person there, it's like, Josh, isn't today your birthday? It's like, it is. Like, oh, happy birthday. And that broke me down, and I was crying my eyes out. And like, I was in the music room, and inside the music room there's like a little in between classes where they like store stuff, and there's like a bathroom there. And I had gone,
we just had a sink.
well,
Go on.
but I went to the bathroom, and I was just bawling my eyes out, and I was just having my moment. And this room was connected to it was to my TA, which was just in my school. A TA was like a room filled with like a bunch of students, and there's one teacher who basically takes care of you throughout the 4 years. So if you have any issues, that was to us. I know it's different to a lot of people. That's why I needed to explain it.
No, I know.
But so it was right next to the room where my TA, she was my TA mother. She was wonderful, Miss Hanaido. Love you so much. Really helped me out because in this moment she like had knocked on the door, and everyone else was trying to knock on the bathroom door, trying to like see if they can help me out. And like I don't want to talk to you guys. Like I'm having a situation. Oh, I'm getting emotional. And it was Miss Hanaido who knocked on the door. It's like, hey Josh, can I come in and talk to you? And I just opened the door, and I explained to her the whole situation. And what she said to me that stuck to me to this very day, it's like, you're so focused on helping other people out, but what you don't realize is you can't help other people out until you help yourself. And that was the moment that something just clicked in my head. I'm like, you are so right. You are so right about that. And, you know, I bawled my eyes out. I had my whole day, and I remember going back home and just laying in bed. I'm like, she's so right. I need to make sure that I'm okay mentally, make sure that I'm in an okay headspace. But regardless if I'm happy or not, as long as I'm neutral, that's also really good.
Some days, yeah.
Being neither is fine sometimes. Just existing and being okay with that is a wonderful feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
And everything was just like clicking to me. It's like, you're right. And from that day forward, there was like a lot of situations where I would like be hanging out with friends or whatever, friends, quote unquote. I had one friend who invited me to a group of people, but the group of people were doing their own thing. And again, that's a feeling of isolation. And it was one of those situations where I'd be like, I don't feel like I belong here. Like, I know you guys invited me, quote unquote, but I don't feel happy being here, so I'm just not going to be here.
Yeah.
And so there'd be
it's such a hard thing to do sometimes, though.
It is.
But, yeah.
But it was such like a liberating feeling, being like walking away from the situations, and then the next day people were like, oh, why'd you leave? It's like, I didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah. And that's okay.
It is, but they didn't understand that at the time. Like, that's a very offensive thing to say. It's like, I just didn't want to be there anymore. It's like, oh, you don't like being around? It's like, I don't. That's why I wanted to leave.
That seems so relevant with what happened on Drag Race yesterday.
Right. It spoke to me, too.
Yeah.
But that's such a poignant issue of, like, understanding that you need to be okay first and foremost.
You need to put yourself
because
first.
if you're not okay, you can't help anyone else either.
Yeah.
And that's one of, I feel like, the hardest lessons to learn is like, you need to take care of you first you need to be okay because you can't help anybody else. Because that was a huge issue in my last relationship, was there were so many times where neither of us were okay. But for me specifically, I'm not going to speak for her, but for me, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not okay, but if I can help her, then I'm doing something right? Like if she's happy, and it's like projecting that onto her, and like if I can make her happy, or I can do what she wants, then I have done something right.
Yeah.
But that never works out, because if I'm not okay and she's not okay, then no one's okay, and that's never gonna work out that way. And so learning like, oh, that's not a healthy way to go about anything at all in any capacity, because it never works out, because I'm not okay and she's not okay, so we can't help each other if we can't help ourselves.
Well, a lot of times it seems easier to help other people than yourself.
Yeah, because in a sense you're ignoring your problems, but for the sake of someone else. So that's how you.
Well, and you
So
can
it's
also
altruistic.
It's easier to stay objective with somebody else's problems.
Yes.
Whereas with your own problems,
It's that whole situation where like you can always see someone who's like is like falling in love with another person. It's like it's obvious to everyone besides the people who are actually going through that whole situation.
Yeah, but for me, it's like, well, I don't know how to help myself, but I know what she likes. And I know how to help her, and I know what she wants, so I can do that for her, and then she's at least happy, even though she wasn't, because she had her own thing she was dealing with. But to me, it's like, okay, that's one thing I can do, because I don't know what to do for me.
Yeah.
But the good solution is you figure out you first, and then you deal with that instead of reverse, because that's never going to lead to anything happening.
Which in itself is also
then you just
a whole
get taken
journey.
advantage of, and then it's just not going to be helpful.
But it's its own journey too. It's not something that's
that took a lot of years to figure that out.
Yeah, still learning.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, did Miss Hanida say happy birthday?
She did after I told her. Yeah, about that situation. She's like, "Oh, happy birthday." She's such a sweet one. Can I gush about her real quick?
Yeah.
I love her.
Shout out to Miss Hanida.
Yeah, Miss Hannah.
I'll allow it.
So
As the king of this episode,
I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, but no, let me
Try
talk
to
about her.
deep throat me. Stay on your bag.
But
I'm in my plebeian couch.
Let me talk about Miss Hannah, because she's such a lovely woman. So
Say
like,
it to camera.
so Miss Hannah, if you're watching there, shout out to you.
I hope you are.
But like,
We'll send it to her.
she was such a lovely woman throughout all of high school. She was this very like petite woman. For the longest time, I didn't know she didn't have eyebrows because she had it tattooed on. I think she had a condition where her eyebrows fell off or something like that. But I did not know that happened. So her eyebrows always looked nice. I'm like, you go.
Like they're so on fleek.
Yeah, they always look so nice. But she was such a lovely woman. She was always so like she was like a TA mother to us all, where she was never sounded condescending to anyone she was talking to. She was always just like, what do you need? Oh, what's going on? Talk about it. She was always had an ear to listen to. I was suffering through undiagnosed, but I wasn't eating a lot during high school. I had a lot of body dysmorphia, and I remember her just doing such simple things so naturally. It was so beautiful, where I'd be tired after lunch because obviously I'm not eating anything, and I just go talk to her randomly, and she's like, "Oh, I have this extra apple. Do you want it?" And she just gives me the apple. Doesn't really give me an option, but she just hands me. But an apple is like a nice, easy thing that anyone can really consume and not feel like, "Oh, that's a lot," or "I'm taking a lot." But she'd basically be feeding me.
It's just an apple.
Yeah, it's nothing special. But she'd be feeding me, and that's such a big issue that I was going through, because I was going through a lot of mental things about body dysmorphia, and she was just casually just like, "Here, have an apple." I was like, "Oh, I have some extra crackers here, if you
I
want
was
some."
gonna say, I can imagine it escalating to like, "Oh man, I made this huge sandwich, but I can't eat all of it."
Oh man, here's a turkey dinner. Do you want it? I made extra.
No, she never went to that extent. Not saying that she wouldn't. She probably would.
She would.
She would.
I got a whole rotisserie chicken in my backpack. Do you need it?
No, but she was a lovely woman. But she did it so naturally where I didn't even process what she was doing. She was feeding me, essentially. She was just like, "Hey, I just have this extra thing. If you want it, it's yours. If you don't." She gave me an option without really giving an option, which is a very skillful thing to do if you do it right. And she's like, "Oh, here." Just puts it in front of me. It's like, "It's yours. It exists to you now. Regardless if you take it or not is up to you, but it's closer to you now."
Yeah.
So it's more enticing.
It's such a lovely woman.
And it's just an apple. Like, it's not a big deal.
It's not
Just
a
eat
big
the
deal.
apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she did stuff like that. I remember I was like going through a whole situation too, where I was talking to her like, oh, I feel like I'm constantly being compared to my brothers, and you know I'm having issues. I was like, why you compare yourself to them? It's like, you're your own person.
Mm-hmm.
And she said it in such like matter of fact. It's like, that's weird that you think that way. You're not him.
Yeah.
And it was such, she always did things in such a casual way that just made me feel so like, you're right. Why am I thinking it the way I am? And obviously I still think about stuff like that here and there. But like she just made it seem so matter of fact. Like, it's not a big issue, but like, you shouldn't put so much pressure on yourself. Like, give yourself a little break.
See, what's funny is
Love her.
when you hear, why are you comparing yourself to your brother? You're your own person. You're like, oh my god, I haven't thought about it that way. And the first thing that pops in my head is like, well, everybody else isn't like, tell me. So that's what's on my mind.
Yeah, I know. But
Especially
what
because,
helps a lot is tone.
No, I know, but I mean, you said it in like a pretty uplifting, like, you know, like that's just how it is. Like, there's no reason to do that type of tone. Like, but I mean, I was just thinking about how we were always compared growing up, and because you at least had separations from your brothers. All our teachers knew both of us because we were in the same grade.
That's true.
We're twins, and you know, mom says it, so we believe her.
Yeah.
She was there. But
I witnessed it.
yeah, I mean, we were compared to each other growing up the whole time, and
All
it's
the
like
time.
whether we were doing it or not, other people were, and they would tell us like, "Oh, you're not like your brother. Your brother's."
I would have people like in elementary school and stuff all the time come up to me, never but seen these people before in my life, and be like, "Are you Ian's brother?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" Like, people just
And
knew.
you
Like, people just
are-
knew that we were brothers and that we were in different classes, and I don't know how. It was like, I remember distinctly in 3rd grade when we moved to the house where we were in that time, is like, we were new.
Yeah.
We were new to the school. Like, we had only been there maybe a couple months, and there was kids from his class coming up to me and being like, "Oh, I know who you are." And I'm like, how? Like, I don't have any friends. I don't talk to anybody. Like, I don't know anybody. And I have people coming up to me that's like, "Oh, I know who you are. You're Ian's brother." I'm like, "Well, Ian did this in class, and Ian did that in class." And I'm like, why are you telling me? I don't even know you. I've never seen you before
Well, to
in my
go
life.
off of comparisons and like thinking back to, because I thought of
Is
this.
this related to millennial issues? Are we getting too far from the
Well,
subject?
so let me talk about that, because that was my turning point in realizing mental health is very important. Which
Yes, I know that was all related.
yeah, that was.
But I think the comparison is getting a little far from millennial issues.
it may or may not. It depends on how you angle it.
I don't know. You're the judge.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's a good conversation. Whether
it is a good conversation.
we stay on
Yeah,
topic
but is it-
100% or not. But and I
Fair,
mean,
fair.
we're millennials. We have issues.
These are
It
ours.
technically falls under a millennial issue. But
This
no,
is
I was
millennial
gonna
problem.
say when he was talking about like the whole like, you know, friends saying happy birthday, and you know, feeling like it's a small thing, but people should do it, and being compared to your siblings or not. I mean, well, we both had Facebooks. And people would always tell me like, oh, they liked him more than me or whatever, in school. And so sometimes I would go on our birthday and it'd be like, well, I only got 17 people saying happy birthday to me, and he got like 34.
I can see that.
And to be like, oh, people care at least that much about him a lot more than me.
I get that.
And I thought about that when you were talking about it, and I thought of it when we were talking about comparisons and stuff again. So, just wanted to bring that up.
No, I get it, and that is, I hate that we're in a world where we're constantly being compared to other people. Granted, that being said, you kind of have to compare yourself in certain aspects.
It helps in some ways, right?
It does help in some ways, but people take things to an extreme.
Especially
sometimes.
like if you have a role model. I just want to.
I'm waiting my turn. That's why I'm raising my
Fair
hand.
enough.
If you
I found a new
like, if you
system.
have a role model, you're like, okay, they got to this place at that time. I want to be like them. I want to try to, you know, hit those benchmarks that they kind of set for me. So that's like a good way. But if you're being compared to somebody else every other step of the way and being like put down for not hitting every little benchmark, like it's not like, oh, by the time he's 30, he had a house, he had his own business. It's like, oh, well, you're 27 and you didn't do this one thing that he did, so you're failing. It's like, no, the journey the journey can be different, but you could still be hitting the same big milestones, but the in between doesn't matter as much.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need to be nitpicky about that, because I mean, who's getting better because of it?
Who's to say that my way of going about things is better than another person's way of going about things?
Yeah, and
that's what it comes down
just
to.
because that exact path worked for them doesn't mean it's gonna work for me. I mean,
Absolutely.
there can be
Absolutely.
3 paths around a mountain. All those paths are getting to the other side of the mountain. You just chose a different route. Same thing for anything else, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's multiple ways to get from point A to point B. Yes, the fastest one is a straight line, but you could go the opposite direction and still make it around.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree, and I think that what the difference is.
Uh-huh.
I was like, am I gonna get a turn?
I was wrapping up. I had the whole thing in my
I
head.
think that the thing is there is a difference semantically between comparing and relating. And I think it's
Go on.
good to relate to people and say, oh, I understand what you're going through. I've been through that. Like, I can empathize with this, or I can sympathize with that, or whatever. And connecting on that level versus comparing, where comparing is a versus, right? It's this versus this. It's this versus that. It's I did this, you did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think comparison in that type of way is productive. But relating to people very much is, and understanding that you can hit similar milestones like you were saying, but that everybody is their own person and every person has their own path.
Mm-hmm.
And you are never going to have the same path that someone else has, ever. Because you are your own person and you are on your own road. Your roads may intertwine. You may want to reach similar destinations, and that's great. But you're starting from a different place than he's starting, then I'm starting, then everyone else is starting from. So you're never going to walk the same path.
And I mean,
So you can't expect to walk the same path
what was gonna break?
because you cannot. You are you, and that's okay. So figure out what your path is and how you're going to get there.
And even starting at the same place,
No.
you could.
Go on, sorry.
Wait, you're gonna make fun of me?
Yeah. Okay, but it's your turn.
Prolong eye
but-
contact.
I was gonna say though, even starting at the same place, you could have different paths to the
Yeah.
next point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're twins. We technically started at the same place with the same background in terms of family and status and all that stuff, and we've had very different paths. And who's to say we don't end up at the same spot in 20 years?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Because we're our own people.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our own paths.
people,
And that's okay.
we're our own.
And that's okay, and that's how it should be. So I think you can relate to people, and I think having role models in a healthy capacity is good. Like, oh, this is someone who I look up to. I want to try and emulate what they're doing or their milestones or whatever, but you shouldn't want to be that person because, one, you can't. They are them. That's not going to happen. And two, your path is never going to look like that. So comparing yourself to impossible standards is only ever going to set you up for failure consistently because you will never meet those standards. And you can extrapolate that to career, to lifestyle, to looks. That's a huge thing in the beauty industry and the personal appearance industry is, oh, well, I don't look like that person. You're not going to because you're not them. You're you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But you can't project that onto them because you're only going to disappoint yourself then. And I think that that's a huge issue with social media. To just counterbalance the previous argument is like everything, whether it's real or not, because there's a lot of and increasingly more fake images out there or photoshopped or edited images that then project these impossible standards, and not just in beauty but in lifestyle and in career and all this kind of stuff. You only see the successes.
It's very that.
You don't see the failures. You don't see,
'Cause that's all they
the
wanna
person
show.
sitting on Photoshop editing the picture for 3 hours so it looks just perfect the way they want. But you have all these people who have low self-esteem who are like, oh, well, I'm never going to be as beautiful as this person. That person isn't even as beautiful as that person. So like you're never gonna succeed if that's the way you're looking at things. So you can be inspired by, you can be, you know, relate to something and be like, oh, that's cool, like I want to do something like that. But if you project impossible standards on yourself, all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure.
And just to tie that back in, I mean, you know, that's an issue that millennials more than any other generation have had to face, because
We grew up with the
we're,
internet.
we're the ones who grew up with the internet.
Yeah.
We were the ones going through our puberty and everything with social media.
Mhm.
Like, we were the first ones to be able to compare ourselves to people all across the world in terms of beauty and culture and stuff like that, and be like, no, I'm not doing as good as all these people. Like, that feels terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I think that really ties into our topic. We came back around.
Yeah, we got it around.
And I think that, you know, that's a good place to end for this week.
I agree.
You are you.
And you are beautiful.
I am me. They are them. And we are all us.
We're a big family.
And that's okay. And you're great. And we're great. And keep being great. And take care of yourself because you're worth it.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.